to another episode of The Proud Skillworker. Today we have the opportunity to interview Nate. Nate, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Nate, first thing we like to do is we like to hear a little bit about your story. So tell us, how'd you get into the trades? What's life been like for you?
So in high school, I started out working at a fab shop, building custom metal boats. And then I took some tech classes in high school, machining, welding, robotics, and basic wiring. And we had one of the instructors come in from a local technical college, and he showed us a demo of like some of the trainers that we would be using if we were to take that program. So I started that program right out of high school. I got my associate's degree in electromechanical technology and a technical diploma in industrial controls. And then right out of school, I worked at a industrial bakery for Quick Trip, and I was there for 2 years, and I signed on with Skillwork and headed out east.
Love it. Where are you at now on the East Coast?
I'm in Western Mass.
Okay. And where's home for you?
Home right now is La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Okay. So weather-wise, you're going to be just fine freezing up there in the Northeast. Good luck with that. So one of the things you mentioned was in high school, you were building custom metal boats. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I started working there when I was 15. We had a good family friend that started a small business, and I stayed with him for all throughout high school and into 1 year of his tech school. And that's where I learned, a lot of the basics and, kind of got the knack for welding and just making things and repairing stuff.
It's awesome. I think it's really cool that you were able to find a way to combine your formal training with your on-the-job training. So you took this formal training at these technical schools, but you were always in the field learning something, doing something with your hands. So do you think your formal training would have mattered as much if you weren't applying it daily on the job?
No, going through school while also having like an internship, I had an internship in there as well. And when you're at school for half a day and then you go to work and you're using the same equipment and looking at the same PLCs, and it's really helpful to kind of like compile that from work to school. So it's really relative if you get in the right program.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that leads us into a series of questions that we have today from a group of users who reached out, and their focus wanted to be, let's talk about troubleshooting. Let's talk about how you approach troubleshooting. What are you learning most when you're troubleshooting, kind of your techniques? So first question up is, how do you describe your troubleshooting style, Nathan?
At first, when I just first started out of school and wasn't like super familiar with a lot of any equipment, manuals are always really helpful. Just looking through the manuals, there's always a lot of sometimes troubleshooting tips, but other times it just says, contact an engineer, which isn't helpful at all. But a lot of guys that I've worked with are always really helpful. If you ask them, they'll show you if they have experience. But if no one has seen this issue before, it's always good to, collaborate with multiple people to try to solve an issue. And that's with bigger issues. And sometimes on small stuff or just like simple calls, it's usually easy stuff that possibly the operators change. And you just got to start with this simple stuff and, start from there. If you get a call and you've got a machine that's been running great for 3 days and they're asking to change speeds on VFDs and retime machines, it's probably not that. It's probably something that an operator changed or a material issue.
It's interesting you bring that up, because we've been talking a lot about on the podcast, when you approach machines, to go to the operator and ask the questions of, what does this machine usually do? When did it stop working? And what have you recently changed?
Yeah.
So it sounds like what you're talking about is going to them and going, why is it broken now? Where do you think in your experience you've learned the most troubleshooting? Has it been in the field? Has it been on those small teams you talked about? On your solo troubleshooting? Which roles and which areas do you think you've learned the most in?
It's probably when it was just me and one other guy working nights at my first industrial job, and it was me and another 21-year-old, and we were both fresh out of school, so we didn't want to call any help at night, so we just would always collaborate and try to work on issues at night. And most of the time we got it, but sometimes you got to make that call, and you always learn from it, whether it's a simple issue or something that maybe your help doesn't even know.
It's really fun that, when I hear you talk about the two of you on nights, fresh out of school, not wanting to call anybody, I think that's the optimistic side, or the plus side of pride, is you're proud of what you do. You want to be able to be the team that's like, no, we fixed it, we didn't need help. But in the back of your mind, you're like, we have no idea what we're doing. We're gonna wing it. But I think that's the value of pride right there, is you two having each other to lean on in your small maintenance team and just go, we'll figure it out together. So what do you think have been some of the biggest challenges you've faced in your career, though, Nathan, as you've come up troubleshooting and learning all these new things?
Probably like PLC troubleshooting and like networking. We went through that in school, but my first year out of school, I didn't do a whole lot with PLCs or networking and all that. And now I'm finally back into it at this contract, and just, it could just be it's not necessarily a PLC issue, but some of these issues that we run into, it's 100% faster to go in the program and look to find out what's causing this issue. If you're working on a palletizer and it's got 20 sensors on it, and there's one sensor that's holding up this pallet moving forward, it's so much easier to go in the program and, find out what's hanging it up.
It'll call out those faults from the PLC, from the actual interface, right? So when you get into the PLC and you engage with it, it'll tell you where your typical faults are on those sensors, right? Yeah,
for the most part. Some of the equipment doesn't have like real in-depth HMIs. They're just pretty old screens. So sometimes it always doesn't say what's holding it up. But
okay. I'm curious to know, Nathan, what impact do you think you can make in the maintenance field? What can you change? What's something that you can change the way it's looked at today?
Just having a positive attitude and, showing up to work on time and, ready to work, working hard and trying to solve, any issue. Not to say, if you're when I was a mechanic and I wouldn't call one of the more experienced electrical guys just to, come over and look at it and say, that's, not my problem. I would, work on it myself and figure it out.
I like it. As you talk through kind of why you got into maintenance and some of the really cool trainers that you saw when you were a kid, and you talked about some of the classes you took in high school, can you describe those trainers for us? Because those seem to be a bit of the catalyst for the career path you've taken, the trainers that you were shown. That instructor came in and showed you something, I'm guessing, that had some fancy bells and whistles on it. So what was that like?
Yeah, it was, you just have it was a stand with a bunch of rows of, I'd have lights, normally open, normally closed, push buttons, contactors. And that was just, kind of the base one for the industrial controls. And then once we were in school, they had ones with, BFDs and some smaller PLCs to, we just ran through, you'd be setting up a lab and it would say, make this motor latch on and have this indicator come on when that motor comes on. And that's exactly what I'm troubleshooting at work now, just on a much larger scale. And it just helped me prepare a lot for that.
Yeah. Boxes got bigger, but the simulated line is still the same, huh?
Yeah.
Nathan, this is the part of the show that I love. I like to turn it over to you and just ask you, if there's one thing that you could say to everybody in the industry, every maintenance tech, every industrial maintenance tech would hear, what would you say to those guys and gals?
I just say, get out of your comfort zone, take all the opportunities you can to expand your knowledge, because at the end of the day, the more you know, the easier your job is. And, with more knowledge and experience comes more money, and we all like that. But yeah, take any opportunities you can, try to expand your fields, get, more training, certifications, and show up to work and work hard.
I love it. You said get out of your comfort zone. How do you go about doing that without stepping on people's toes? Because I think people sometimes feel like their toes are getting stepped on when you're stepping into their world.
Yeah. You know, you just gotta kind of do it sometimes. I mean, I've never ran into like anyone getting like offended when you know, like they're like the resident welder in the shop, and I come in and you know, I like doing welding projects too, and you know, you gotta distribute the work, and you know, always just ask for help, and you know, try to get in with more of the automation guys, and you know, try to work with as many different fields and groups as you can.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's important to be able to slide in and out of those departments and in and out of those teams as you want to learn and learn more. Definitely make sure you don't burn any bridges. Make sure you don't irritate anybody too much. But stepping out of your comfort zone to grow is huge. Nate, anything else? Anything else you want to say to the crowd? Anything else you want to ask me? Anything like that?
No, I'm all good.
Awesome. Well, huge thank you to Nate for being on the show today. Nate, thank you so much for everything you do up in what is about to be the freezing cold Northeast. So thank you. We appreciate you being on the show. Everybody who's listening, thank you. Please continue to like and subscribe, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever it is you get your podcasts. Also, if you want to be a guest on the show, please comment on any of our videos or any of our podcasts, and we'd love to have you on. Just talk about anything. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.